Two British princesses are getting swept up in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Beatrice and Eugenie are the daughters of former Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. As CNN reports from London, recently released Epstein files feature their parents' names hundreds of times.
On January 30th, 2026, the United States Department of Justice released 3 million new documents related to the investigation into the late financier Jeffrey Epstein. Within those documents, the names of Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie appear hundreds of times, not once, not a handful of times, hundreds of times, across years of correspondence, in contexts that ranged from incidental mentions to specific documented arrangements that placed the two young women at the center of a world their father had built around a convicted sex offender. And on March 15, 2026, King Charles III authorized the first formal consequence for the two nieces he had spent years insisting were wholly unaffected by their father's situation. They were banned from royal Ascot, not quietly, not diplomatically, publicly, in a decision that royal experts described as a clear signal that the palace either knows something or suspects something about the sisters and has decided that the risk of their continued visible association with the crown is too high to absorb. Beatrice and Eugenie received the news separately. Sources close to both their households used the same word to describe the reaction: shocked.
Beatrice and Eugenie jumping on a plane to spend time with Epstein, along with Fergie, has reputational consequences. The monarchy has to think long-term, and Ascot is about safeguarding the brand.
Today we are going to tell you the full story behind that shock, what the Epstein files revealed about Sarah Ferguson's use of her daughters in her relationship with a convicted sex offender, what the specific July 2009 lunch in Miami actually involved, why the palace's position of wholly unaffected has now collapsed, and what King Charles is doing about it. We are going to tell you what William and Catherine's role in the distancing actually is, why Eugenie has already lost her most significant charity role, and what both sisters now face as Charles draws a formal line. We are going to take our time, because this is a story about two women who feel they have been fed a pack of lies by the people who were supposed to protect them. So settle in, and let's begin. To understand what the Epstein files revealed about Beatrice and Eugenie, you need to understand who Jeffrey Epstein was and what his relationship with the York family looked like across more than a decade of correspondence. Because the files do not simply confirm what was already known, they fill in a picture that is considerably more detailed and considerably more uncomfortable than anyone, including the sisters themselves, had fully understood. Jeffrey Epstein was an American financier. He was convicted in 2008 of soliciting prostitution from a minor, a crime for which he served 13 months of an 18-month prison sentence. He was released in July 2009. He died in August 2019 while awaiting federal sex trafficking charges. In December 2024, President Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which required the Department of Justice to release its investigative documents. The first major release came in December 2025. The second and largest release of 3 million documents came on January 30th, 2026. Within those documents is the clearest picture yet of how deeply Epstein had penetrated the social and financial world of the York family. Not just Andrew, whose association with Epstein has been public since 2011 and catastrophic since 2019, but Sarah Ferguson, and through Ferguson, whether they knew it or not, Beatrice and Eugenie. Sarah Ferguson's emails with Epstein reveal a relationship of extraordinary intimacy and financial dependency. She referred to him in writing as her spectacular and special friend and told him she was proud of him while he was serving his prison sentence for a sex crime against a minor. She asked him for money, at one point begging for help paying $50,000 she needed urgently for rent. She told him in a 2009 email, "I am at your service, just marry me." She proposed working for him as his house assistant. She also, and this is the detail that has produced the most specific scrutiny of Beatrice and Eugenie, brought her daughters into his world. The emails show that Epstein paid for flights to the United States for Ferguson and her two daughters. The total cost, according to records in the files, was $14,080. The destination was Miami. The timing was July 2009, weeks after Epstein's release from prison. The lunch took place on July 27, 2009. Beatrice was 20 years old. Eugenie was 19. Their mother brought them to have lunch with a man who had just served prison time for soliciting prostitution from a minor, a man who was still on house arrest, a man who was registered as a sex offender. There is no suggestion in the files that Beatrice and Eugenie knew the full details of what their father and mother's involvement with Epstein involved. The documents contain no allegations of wrongdoing against either sister. And being brought to lunch by your mother at 19 and 20 years old is not evidence of anything, except that you had a mother who made choices that day that she should not have made. But they were there. The emails confirm it. Epstein confirmed it in a subsequent message to his former associate Ghislaine Maxwell. The flights were paid for by Epstein, and the lunch happened with a convicted sex offender who their parents had been financially involved with for years. That is what the files showed. That is what 3 million documents confirmed. And that is what produced the shock at the palace. Not because anyone inside it believed Beatrice and Eugenie were criminally involved, but because the palace's previous public position was that the sisters were wholly unaffected, and the files showed that wholly unaffected was not accurate. If you are watching this for the first time and you want to follow this story as it continues to develop, and it is developing quickly with more file releases still anticipated, please subscribe right now. We cover the royal family in the depth and detail these stories deserve. Hit subscribe, turn on your notifications, and every new video comes straight to you. Now let's talk about what the files revealed beyond the July 2009 lunch, because that lunch is the most documented and most specific detail. But it is not the only one. The emails show that Epstein was actively thinking about the sisters as useful in the context of his relationships with powerful people. In a 2009 email, Epstein wrote to a couple telling them that Ferguson had offered to organise tea at the Buckingham Palace apartments. The implication of that email, and it is an implication that royal commentators have described as one of the most troubling details in the entire file release, is that Ferguson was offering Epstein's contacts access to royal spaces, including, potentially, access arranged through her daughters who lived within those spaces. There is no confirmation in the files that such access was ever provided. The email records an offer, not a confirmed event. But the fact that Epstein was communicating to third parties that Ferguson could arrange royal access at a time when Beatrice held an apartment at St. James's Palace and both sisters were involved in royal engagements, places the sisters in a context that is deeply uncomfortable, even if their individual actions were entirely innocent. The files also contain a March 2010 email from Epstein to Ferguson discussing a potential business arrangement in which Beatrice and Eugenie would hold equity shares in a commercial venture that Epstein was facilitating for their mother. There is no indication in the emails that either sister knew about this discussion. No shares were ever issued, but the fact that Epstein was structuring financial arrangements around the sisters' names at a time when he was a registered sex offender and a federal fugitive, adds another layer to a picture that was already deeply concerning. Royal biographer Andrew Lowney, who has written about the York family in his book entitled and who spoke to media this week, made a statement that has attracted significant attention. He said the sisters were not 5-year-old girls when they were taken to see Epstein, they were grown-ups. He dismissed what he described as a big campaign to portray them as innocents caught up in the shell fire and said he believed they were deeply involved. That is a serious statement, and it requires a serious response because it is not supported by the specific evidence in the files in the way that Lowney's confidence in making it might suggest. The files show the sisters were present at a lunch. They show their names appear in financial discussions they were apparently not party to. They show their mother used their names and potentially their access in ways that served her relationship with Epstein. What the files do not show is any direct communication from either Beatrice or Eugenie to Epstein. No emails they wrote to him, no arrangements they made, no evidence of independent knowledge of what their mother's relationship with him fully involved. Loney's assessment reflects a view held by some royal commentators that the sisters, as adults at the time of the 2009 lunch, should have understood what they were doing and should have refused to go. That view has some logic. They were 19 and 20, not children. Adults with their own judgment, but adults at 19 and 20 who accompany their mother to lunch with someone she introduces to them are not necessarily exercising independent adult judgment about that person's history. They are doing what young adults do when their parents make social arrangements for them, and their parents, in this case, had every reason to minimize or conceal from their daughters the full extent of what Epstein was. That is not an excuse, but it is the context in which the files need to be understood. And your audience deserves to have that context stated plainly rather than glossed over in the rush to deliver a verdict. Let's talk about how the two sisters have been responding to the revelations. Because their responses are, as those who know them describe, characteristically different. Eugenie has distanced herself. She has, according to multiple sources speaking to trusted journalists, almost severed contact with her father. British broadcaster and photographer Helena Chard, speaking to Fox News Digital, said Eugenie has particularly taken the public scrutiny and conflicting reports hard. Her anti-slavery work, the cause she had built her public identity around for 7 years, has made maintaining a relationship with her parents practically impossible, given what the files revealed. She stepped down as patron of Anti-Slavery International on March 8, 2026. The charity removed her profile from its website. 7 years of association ended in a single statement. Eugenie co-founded the Anti-Slavery Collective in 2017. She had been a genuine and active campaigner against human trafficking. The particular cruelty of her situation is that the cause she built her identity around, protecting the vulnerable from exploitation, is the cause most directly contaminated by what her father's files revealed. An anti-slavery campaigner whose father was under investigation for connections to a sex trafficking network. The contradiction was one that no amount of public composure could bridge. Beatrice's response has been different. She has maintained more visible contact with her father. Sources describe her as feeling a greater responsibility to check that her parents are all right. Her instinct, by the accounts of those who know her, is toward loyalty rather than distance. Not because she approves of what the files revealed. Those same sources describe her as horrified, but because her character drives her toward the people she loves when they are suffering, even when their suffering is the consequence of their own choices. Both sisters feel they were fed a pack of lies by their parents. That phrase, fed a pack of lies, comes from People magazine's reporting on sources close to the family. Author Robert Jobson, who has covered the royal family for decades, told the outlet, "I do think they believed their father, and now it has all backfired. Let's pause here. We here are at the midpoint of this story, and the section ahead covers what Charles has actually done and what William and Catherine's role in the distancing actually involves. If you know someone who is following this story and who would want to understand all of it properly, please share this video with them now. It takes just a moment. Thank you." The Royal Ascot ban on March 15, 2026 was the first formal public expression of a position that had been building inside the palace since the January 30th file release. But it was not the only thing Charles authorised. It was the most visible piece of a broader shift in how the palace is now managing its relationship with the York sisters. Senior royals, including William and Catherine, are now careful not to be seen with them publicly. That specific detail, careful not to be seen, was reported by royal author Andrew Lowney and has been confirmed by other sources. The caution is deliberate. It is not the natural management of a busy schedule or the inevitable social distance of people who move in different circles. It is a calculated decision to reduce the photographic and visual association between the working royal family and the York sisters at a time when that association carries institutional risk. Royal expert Andrew Lowney's assessment of the Ascot ban is the one that best captures what the palace is communicating through it. He said the decision is a very clear indication that the royal family either knows something or suspects something, and therefore feels the need to distance itself from the daughters. He added that quietly telling them not to come to Ascot would have been possible. The fact that the decision was communicated publicly is the signal. It is not simply a social arrangement, it is a statement. Catherine's role in the distancing deserves specific attention. According to an insider speaking to Closer magazine, the Princess of Wales has emerged as one of the most resolute voices in protecting the monarchy's reputation in the wake of the Epstein fallout. The source said Catherine was the one who said, "Enough is enough," and that she is unyielding when she believes the crown is at risk. The source described her as believing that long-term damage to the monarchy is a real risk if the association with the York sisters continues without formal management. That is a significant characterization, because Catherine has not previously been associated with institutional hardline positions of this kind. Her public image is one of warmth, diplomacy, and the careful management of difficult relationships within the family. The description of her as one of the most resolute voices in the Ascot decision, as someone who drew a firm line and did not move it, suggests a development in how she is operating within the palace's decision-making structure that is consistent with the broader changes that have been underway since William's authority transfer in March 2026. The sisters, according to sources speaking to the Royal Observer, refuse to slope away like criminals when they have done nothing wrong. That phrase captures their position. Dignified, clear, and entirely understandable, given that neither of them has been accused of any criminal act, and both have spent years building lives of genuine professional substance and charitable commitment. They are trying to convince Catherine to take them back. That specific detail, trying to convince Kate, suggests that Eugenie and Beatrice understand that the decision to distance is not solely Charles's, that it involves the family as a whole, and specifically involves the woman who will one day be queen. Let's talk about what all of this reveals about the broader institutional moment. Because the distancing from Beatrice and Eugenie is not happening in isolation, it is happening alongside the authority transfer to William, the conduct protocol he has been implementing, the Bower Book revelations, the Ascot ban, and everything that has defined the palace's March 2026 experience. The monarchy is in the middle of a transition that is accelerating faster than anyone anticipated 2 years ago. Charles's health has created urgency. The Epstein files have created a specific and ongoing reputational crisis that the palace cannot manage simply by expressing concern. And William, with the formal authority now documented and transferred, is making decisions that reflect a much clearer and much harder institutional logic than the palace has operated under in recent decades. In that context, the distancing from Beatrice and Eugenie is not primarily about them. It is about the institution's response to a situation it did not create, cannot fully control, and can only manage by making clear that the association ends here. That whatever their parents did, and whoever their parents involved them with, the working royal family is drawing a line, not with cruelty, but with a consistency that those inside the palace describe as necessary. Let's end where this story is most human. Beatrice and Eugenie were fed a pack of lies. That is not an interpretation, that is the assessment of the people closest to them. They believed their father when he said his involvement with Epstein was minimal. They believed their mother when she presented Epstein as a powerful friend whose company they should be comfortable in. They were young women who trusted the two people that young women are supposed to be able to trust most, and the Epstein files revealed that the trust was misplaced. That the world their parents had brought them into, not just in July 2009, but across years of correspondence and financial arrangement and social access, was a world that their parents should never have allowed them anywhere near. That is not a small thing to discover, not at 19 and 20 when the discovery is first hinted at, and not at 35 and 37 when 3 million documents confirm it in writing. They are carrying this now, in the different ways that two different people carry the same devastating discovery. Eugenie through distance and the painful separation from the cause that gave her professional identity meaning. Beatrice through loyalty to parents who do not perhaps deserve the loyalty they are receiving, but who are her parents and whose suffering she cannot set aside however much it costs her. And above them both, the palace is drawing lines. The Ascot ban, the careful avoidance of photographs, Catherine's firm line, William's institutional logic, Charles's formal shift from wholly unaffected to decisive action. The institution is protecting itself, as institutions do, and in the middle of it, two women are trying to find a way to remain who they have always tried to be: decent, hard-working, private people who happen to be born into a family that has become the most scrutinized and most troubled in the world. They carry it because they have no other choice, and the family that was supposed to carry them has decided, at least for now, that it cannot. Thank you so much for watching today all the way to the end. This is one of the most humanly complicated stories we have covered on this channel, and we are grateful to everyone who stayed with it through all of it. If it gave you something to think about, please leave a comment below. Tell us whether you believe Beatrice and Eugenie deserve the palace's full support, or whether Charles made the right decision in distancing. We read every comment, and your perspective genuinely matters to us. And if you are not yet subscribed, please do it now. Click subscribe, turn on your notifications, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you. We will see you soon.